What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another review of Chainsaw Man on the channel. And yeah, I am finally back after a long time. A lot has happened that I'm not going to dive into, but rest assured, I'm probably going to be back for the time being. In any case, getting into the chapter with my raw and unfiltered thoughts, I mean, this was a really funny chapter, but also a really just a tragic one. A really sad one. But to start off, it picks up with Denji, Katana Man, and Asa all sitting on the train, where Katana Man offers Denji a nice spot for him to get his happy ending and to kind of just get his cherry popped, which grosses Asa out, and we get to see this funny panel where Denji, instead of actually thinking about Nayuta in this moment, he actually is thinking about this. He is seriously thinking about this, much to Asa's disgust. And she does call him out like, hey, look, shouldn't you be looking for Nayuta? And Denji's response to this, it made me laugh so hard. He's like, man, now that you mentioned it, I haven't really beat the meat in like such a long time. And he's like, man, maybe I'm depressed because I hadn't just beat my meat in a while. And Asa's reaction to this is honestly everyone's reaction to this chapter is like, what the hell? But when you really read into this moment, it really does show that Denji, after everything that he's gone through, he still isn't able to really look at his own feelings and understand, what is really wrong with him. Which is pretty sad to see and also very disappointing considering that, you would think after everything, Denji would finally be able to confront his feelings, but we do know that whenever he does actually confront them, it always ends in disaster. I mean, if we look at part 1, when he found out that his father was killed by him, when he learned that truth, well, I mean, he literally lost the will to live. And when he lost his pets and his life as he knew it, well, he pretty much destroyed everything around them, including himself. So it is really sad to see that Denji, he just isn't able to actually handle and recognize his own feelings, despite it being pretty obvious. But yeah, I mean, Denji is going to be Denji, but it really is just a sad moment where everyone just looks at him and they're like, wow, I can't believe this guy really is Chainsaw Man. And it really does remind me of like the first part of when Yoshida said, yeah, dude, like no one would ever believe you when you're Chainsaw Man. Because we get to see that even though Denji, he's trying to actually rationalize his decision, despite Asa pretty much telling him like, hey, dude, how could you be thinking about sex right now when, we're trying to save you? And Denji, he's like, oh, come on, man. But it's like, it's a natural thing of life. And he turns on over to the guys that are just like absolutely speechless. And this moment, it really is a good moment because it reminds me of the old saying, never meet your idols. Which essentially what that means is, when you meet your idol, whether they're a celebrity or even a politician, whoever they are, you're always going to be disappointed because the image of what you have in their head is never going to be how they are in person if you actually get to know them. And this is pretty much the moment that we're seeing here within Chainsaw Man. It's just really sad to see things just going out really sad. But it is a good thing because Asa, she's seeing the real side of Denji for what he is, especially at his worst. And which absolutely disgusts him. He's like, oh man, like you're a shameless pig. Don't you feel ashamed for yourself? And he's like, well, I mean, yeah, of course I am, but I gotta get this done. So, in any case, they stop by over to Katana Man's brothel, which hilariously is all burned up, and we just see that Katana Man is just like, oh fuck, how am I gonna make my bread now? No money, no hoes, nothing. Absolutely sad to see, but yeah. And then it starts to rain, and we get what is probably one of the most saddest and the most heartbreaking scenes in a chapter where Denji, he just starts to have a mental breakdown, which, Asa's like, what the heck is wrong with you? And Denji, he outright admits to himself that, and really to say a lot that, yeah, he does have a problem. He can't keep his priorities straight. It's why that, his pets died, Nayuta's missing, and he's trying to go on ahead and get his nut on. And it really is nice to see that Denji is, for all intents and purposes, really recognizing that, God, I really do have a problem right now. And he pretty much goes into why he really wanted to be Chainsaw Man. He's like, I wanted to be Chainsaw Man for the praise and acknowledgement, Nah, man, it was never that. And and we pretty much get like the same reason why he wanted to be a Chainsaw Man from the end of part one. It's because he just wanted to get laid. Which, reading into this scene, it isn't because Denji wants to get laid. It's because Denji wants to be loved. Denji does want the fame and acknowledgement, but the fame and acknowledgement doesn't mean anything to him if people don't love him. Because realistically, when you really stop and think about it, Chainsaw Man, for better, or realistically for worse, is the most famous that he's ever been. He's practically infamously hated, but still pretty famous after, the whole Chainsaw Man church turning people into Chainsaw Man and pretty much causing the end of the world thing. He's the most famous that he's ever been. But it isn't what he wanted. What he really wants is love and a human connection, but Denji, he isn't able to actually recognize that. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, because Denji, he's always been surviving. You know what I'm saying? Like, he never got a chance to really sit down for a moment and be like, man, I get to really enjoy life. I can think about other things other than survival. I mean, sure, he had the time with power and Aki for like a little bit, but even then, he was still in that survival mentality because of, the profession that he was in. But in any case, he pretty much goes on his mental breakdown, and he's like, why? Why am I always thinking with my dick? And it's not funny. And realistically, it isn't funny, and it's absolutely sad to see, because it's like, Denji, for all intents and purposes, with everything that he's been through, he should learn his lesson. But as the old saying goes, old habits really, really do die hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've ever seen someone that has dealt with addiction, which, I'm not saying that he is addicted to sex or anything like that, you know what I'm saying, but it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing for him to crack, and he pretty much does admit that everything is ruined around me because of how lustful that I am. And when you read into this, if you take it at face value, it doesn't sound great, but when you really look at Denji's character and everything that he's been through, then yeah, you can really look at it and say, yeah, everything has absolutely gone to hell because Denji really did think with his dick, or rather, he didn't think logically. He wasn't thinking logically, and you can kind of look at it with his whole situation with Makima. Now, a lot of people think that Denji is extremely stupid, but Denji isn't stupid at all. At the very beginning of part 1 story, he knew who Makima was. He didn't know that he was a controller, but he knew that, yeah, this chick is no good news. But pretty much because, she was hot, in addition with threatening him for death, well, yeah, he went on and he's like, well, I'm just going to make the best of the situation. Ignorance is bliss. I'm just going to go with it. And because he went with it, it did get a lot of people killed. And even he can kind of admit, like, man, this is absolutely horrible. It cost so much death. I mean, he lost power and Aki, which, again, it wasn't really his fault, but I'm sure to some extent he does feel some type of responsibility, considering that he knew who Makima was all along. But, then again, there's nothing that he could really do about it. But in any case, we see him just have like this mental breakdown, and everyone is just staring at him. Everyone is just staring at him, except for the famine double, which is actually sus, but it kind of is making me wonder, the famine double, as fishy as she is, I honestly wonder if she does actually have a heart. Like, if she actually saw Denji have this mental breakdown for pretty much being starved for love and affection, it makes me wonder if the famine devil herself would actually feel kind of bad about what she's about to do with Denji. It's kind of like in like Final Fantasy 15 or wherever it was, where like the main character's dad's like, dang, I have to kill you, but if I look at you in the eye and I see you in such like a low state, I won't be able to do it. Which is kind of strange, but you never know. Like, the famine devil and Denji could have a lot in common. I mean, the main reason why she acts so, I guess, without emotion is maybe because she's starving for emotions. I mean, she is the famine devil. Who really knows? In any case, Asa just looks at him and he's like, God, I'm so disappointed right now. She doesn't even know what to say. She looks super depressed. She's like, good God, I actually fell in love with like a loser. This is the person I have to save. And it's almost like she goes back into her shell and Yoru just pops out and expresses the rage that, Asa just literally can't. So yeah, Asa pretty much checks out. Yoru checks in, and Yoru's like, oh, okay, so, your dick's your problem. Oh, okay, cool. Come in this alleyway, come with me. Don't worry, I'll cut it off for you. And that's how the chapter ends. Now, Yoru's response to this, or her idea of this, is just so messed up. But Chainsaw Man, in a little bit, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm speaking out loud here. I'm not going on a script. It might literally turn into a hentai, because the thing about Yoru is going to do what she has to do to get what she wants. If you catch my drift, like, oh, okay, you're not happy because you didn't get laid. All right, well, come with me into this alley, and we're about to make something happen, which is really messed up to say out loud. Really messed up. But it's something that Yoru has already done in the past. She just doesn't remember it because, Nayuta mind wiped her. But yeah, she was willing to sleep with Denji if it meant turning him into a weapon. Only in this case, it's like, okay, let me make him happy enough so I can fight Chainsaw Man, which is really messed up, and it's not what Denji needs in this moment. But yeah, that might be literally where the story is actually going. That is, unless, Yoru and Denji can actually relate to one another and she understands Denji's trauma. Because you have to remember, the main reason why Yoru wants to really have all this power is so people actually remember her. She doesn't necessarily care about fighting Chainsaw Man. She thinks she wants to fight Chainsaw Man, but really she just wants to be well known again. That's what she wants. And, Denji himself, he kind of wants the same thing, only it's just an emotional connection. So who knows? Maybe Yoru actually saw Denji's trauma, his mental breakdown. He's like, oh, okay, well, I know what this feels like because I've been through the same thing. Yeah, let me help him out in my own Yoru way. But that is how the chapter ends. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys' thoughts are on this chapter. And we think things will go next week. We don't have a break, so there isn't no bi-weekly devil. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.